Welcome back to Breaking Bullying. It's been a long 3, 4 months, I think. My last episode was in June. I took some time off. I feel refreshed. It's October and we are back. And today we are talking about the art of being bullied. We'll get into it after I hit this music. Joining me this week is author of The Art of Being Bullied, Raymond J. Bruni. Raymond, thank you so much for coming on today.
Tim, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all that you're doing to draw attention to this recurring problem.
Yes, I looked at your YouTube video you sent me and we have something in common. We were both bullied as young kids. Mine was all the way from second grade to senior high. And a good friend of mine told me, you got to take that negative experience in life and turn it into a positive and teach people how you overcame that. So when I saw your story, like, hey, you're doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. This is awesome. We're definitely going
Right.
to meet up. So I'm really excited to hear your story, hear about all your accomplishments even though you're a kid who was probably put down, calling a bunch of horrific names, which you mentioned in your YouTube video. I won't say today. But how did you get through all that in life and lead a successful career in not only in television, but now you became an author as well?
I basically have a split personality. My professional life is I'm at the top of my game. I'm a TV producer. I've been producing everything from Good Morning America to World News Now, E News Live. I produce some reality shows and talk shows. And I'm very good at what I do, so I have a 100% self esteem level there. On the
Okay.
other side, the personal side, it's shot. And that's from basically having all those names, attack me every single day, day after day for a decade. So it's hard to say that I'm working on that. I have this cloud of depression that's always hung over me, and it's taken a long time to get over that. And when I started doing this book, excuse me, I discovered a way to learn how to create some healing through taking pictures from these text to image generators, reprocessing my old past trauma scenes and making them new and fresh so I can see a new perspective in what I went through.
Yeah, and you're basically telling a story of your life through that as well, correct? That's kind of what you're doing.
Yes, it's basically a story of all the main key issues throughout my life, and basically what I did was like, for an example, when I first started high school, um, um, I created this picture where I was a redheaded kid reaching into a pond to, drink some water, unaware that there's this purple alligator just about ready to attack me, and purple was my high school color, so it basically was a, metaphor for all the people in high school who were about to attack me as I started my freshman year, and
Okay.
that's what all the pictures in the book do.
Now you mentioned a little bit ago you kind of have like a split personality type thing. You have an image of a successful TV producer, but your personal life, your low confidence, self esteem issues still. How were you able to get like a new persona, but still, but and not carry in your personal life? I'm just a little confused how that works because I actually had a friend who was like that. His name was Eric the Trainer. Um, when you see Eric the Trainer, he was this big, bubbly, happy guy,
Right.
great guy. But then Eric Fleshman was a totally different story in which we found out he suffered from some sort of depression or something happened where he passed away due to suicide, which is very sad. But nobody
Yeah.
ever saw it coming because he would always tell me, Tim, Eric the trainer is not your friend. Eric Fleshman is your friend. I thought that's strange. Okay, I like both guys, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm really intrigued. I'm really curious how you're able to come up with two. I don't want to say different lives, but to be to work for Good Morning America, produce a lot of TV shows, that takes a lot of confidence. From a kid who was picked on, called names, I just don't understand how you came from one area to another area, and so hold back the old area.
Right. It's hard to say. I started. in TV in college. I went to Northern Kentucky University, right across the river is Cincinnati. I was brought on as an intern, and this is when the former mayor of Cincinnati, who was now hired as the news anchor, Jerry Springer, was just
Okay.
beginning his career in television. So I was an intern. He was just starting. We were both learning at the same time. Fortunately, I ended up with a really excellent news director who was the boss. And I really learned fast how to use what I call my right brain rain, which is my huge amount of creativity that just constantly knocks me out all day long with ideas and things to do, and how I turned that into creating personality driven television shows. And that's where my successes lied ever since. So in that sense, yeah, I mean, my business career, my business side is great. My personal side, I've have this social isolation thing where I don't want to be anywhere, I don't want to go anywhere, I don't want to see anybody. So it's constantly competing
Okay.
against each other at work.
Yes.
I don't go out to drink with people. I want to be go home.
I totally relate to that. Now I understand this because I own a martial arts school, which everybody who listens
Right.
to the show knows. So I can be in front of people, I can do my thing, I can go out and do my anti-bullying seminars, or I
Yeah.
call them like self-improvement seminars. But if I leave that element and I go hang out with people I really don't know, I don't say nothing. I still shut down. And
Right.
that's so weird. I don't, and now I understand what you're talking about because looking back, I do the same thing now. That is
That's
strange.
amazing.
So
And you've never
that's
realized that before.
until now, it's like, okay, now I see it. Maybe I have
Yeah.
a split personality. But
I mean,
it's
yeah, I mean, it's tough because I don't like to socialize with people. I mean, it's probably hurt my career because I don't go out for drinks. I don't, sit around and schmooze with people I work with and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
because I just want, as soon as the day's over, I want to go home and be alone. So
yeah.
that's all from being completely rejected as a kid. I mean, I grew up that way, and I went through a lot of therapy, and the therapy wasn't really helping, so it's just something I decided I'm gonna live with and, deal with as it happens.
How long did your bullying last for in school?
It was from 3rd grade till the day I graduated from high school.
Gosh, yeah, you started a year after me. So,
It was Catholic schools, and it was nuns who were vicious bullies themselves, it was priests who were vicious bullies themselves, my coaches in high school were unbelievably vicious, and the students were all it was a, all-boys high school, so the testosterone was on overload
yeah.
there, so everybody was trying to prove themselves.
A lot of people think private schools are the safe way to go, but we've had many guests on here saying that a lot of bullying took place in private schools.
Yeah.
And my daughter went to a private school here in this town. She's in preschool, and she would complain about a kid picking on her. And I would bring it up to the principal or the teacher, and I get shut down. This is like last year, by the way. And so I think they were scared of me because when I went to my last daughter's preschool meeting, some reason the principal had to sit in on this whole conversation, like I was gonna
Oh, yeah.
flip out or something. But I was like, no, I just want kids to treat each other with respect. I think a lot of people they think, oh, you're young, third grade, kindergarten, preschool. There's just kids playing around. But it's like, no, as you know, um, if a kid calls you name, it might not be that big of a deal to a teacher looking at it, but to you, that's very hurtful. And I think adults need to understand that we got to take this bullying seriously, even at preschool age.
You do,
It needs to be
because the
looked at.
pain doesn't stop the minute the names stop being called.
Correct.
In high school, I was constantly vigilant. I had like this fight or flight response all day long, being prepared for the next attack from the next bully, wherever he came from in whatever corner. So I would go home exhausted because I was just like, "Ugh," I had to stay alert the entire day to protect myself.
Yeah. Were you able to get any help from the teachers from school?
No. In fact, one of my chapters in my book is my, sophomore year. We had a speech class, so every week I'd have to stand up in front of the class and give a speech, and the teacher had what I would call a no bulls policy because he refused to control the class. He let everybody say whatever they wanted. You couldn't even hear what I was saying because most people in the classroom were just viciously attacking me with all kinds of names and things. It was ridiculous, and, I have not made a speech since high
Yeah.
school, and I can't imagine what that would be like now or how I would react.
And the fact that this happened at a Catholic school
Mhm.
is just astonishing. No, I'm Catholic myself, and I can't, you know, I just can't. First of all, a nun who dedicated her life to Jesus and a
Right.
father. I'm not saying everybody's perfect, but you see a kid in pain and being hurt. How do you just ignore
Exactly,
that? It doesn't make sense
exactly.
to me. And it's not just private schools; it's public schools. It's people.
Yeah,
We
it
gotta
is.
change the culture. We gotta change the culture. A lot of it, and the bad thing is, it starts at home. And right now, it's next month. We have the election coming up in November, and we are gonna. It's just gonna get nastier and nastier from kids seeing their parents talking bad about a certain group of politicians, and then these kids are gonna go to school with the same ideology as their parents, and they're gonna, oh, you like that person? Well, you're
Yep.
stupid or something. And it's like, and then that kid gets in trouble, but the parent doesn't, and the kid wonders, well, why in the heck did I get in trouble?
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
it's a
never
whole
ending.
it's like a new age of bullying that we're in. I mean, because, kids see their parents complaining. Well, let's start over. We are theoretically close to electing a bully with our votes. So that means we're okaying and justifying what's being done by electing someone like that. And then the kids see that and think, well, hey, if that gets all the attention, then if I become a bully, I too will get more attention and will be able to move up further in the ranks. And if you look at a lot of the people in Congress, they're just bullies because they get sound bites on TV every night.
Yeah,
So it's
and
just it's just the perpetual problem.
yeah, and I don't like to choose sides, especially my podcast. I'm anything political, but I can say both sides. I remember a few months ago, back when we had the debates, for Trump and Biden, all they didn't talk policies.
Yes.
They both just pointed fingers. You did this, you did that. It's
Yep.
like, I didn't learn nothing in this debate about any of you guys.
Exactly. It's not about the issues anymore. It's just about the personalities.
Yeah, and it doesn't help when, maybe you can, maybe speak on this a little bit more, but I feel like the news takes sides a little bit, and I just want unbiased news. Say, "This was said this, here's what was said, this was a date. Let me think for myself what I want." Um, I'm not sure
Well,
what news responsibilities are, but I feel like, I don't even watch the news anymore because I just can't. It's just too negative. Like, let's hear something positive for a change.
certainly there's one news network that, is completely on the right side. But as far as I'm concerned, all the places I've worked, ABC, NBC, E News Live, all those places, no one once ever came to me and said, slant a story this way or create a story so it goes this way, because that's the agenda of our network. No one's ever done that to me. So
Okay.
a lot of the viewers who think that news is biased, it's not necessarily true because we as the producers aren't being told, make this guy look good and make that guy look bad.
Yeah, yeah. So, going back to your book now, that we kinda talked a little bit of politics, 'cause it is election season, so that's gonna
Yes, it
get
is.
brought up. So, Raymond, your book is titled "The Art of Being Bullied," which I love that name. How did you come up with it?
Um, I wanted a title that grabbed people, and I went through a whole bunch of different iterations, and then I realized, well, my book is about transforming my bullying into art.
Okay,
So I came up with the art of being bullied. I went with that. It seemed to fit. The subtitle is reframing trauma one masterpiece at a time. So it's got the trauma in there. I wanted to make sure people understood that this is not a book just about me, but it's more about how you can face your trauma and heal your trauma. So I was hoping to express all that in the title.
okay. Well, ah, well, the title certainly does grab people's attention, like, it grabbed my attention right away, and
Oh, good.
it, and when you think of the art of being bullied, you're right. I mean, as a target of bullying, it takes a lot of, perseverance, um, just to overcome it, being bullied. So it's not like it just goes away. You can lock it in your head forever. I mean, it always stays with you. Um,
And Just the small amount of time this book's been out, I've heard from so many people, so many of my friends who told me about bullying stories I had no idea was going on. When I was growing up with them, I had no idea they were being bullied. So it's amazing how you don't realize what other people are going through until they reveal it to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Was it just I know you said you got bullied by the teachers and staff. Was there always, like, one person that constantly had to bully you?
there was one person who was a major bully. Um, he ultimately it's funny because after I left college, I joined a local TV station here in Cincinnati, and there was this serial killer out around in Cincinnati. He was called the Hitchhiker Killer, and I was writing stories about it, and
Oh,
people
it's
were
not
upset and concerned.
that's the same one on Netflix, right?
No, 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 this is a
Okay.
different guy.
Alright.
But it was my bully from high school,
Oh, wow.
and it's like, oh my god, I had no idea he was capable of killing, but that's what he turned into. So it's terrifying.
Was this in elementary, middle, or high school? That
This was my freshman year in high school. He
wow.
he was only there for my freshman year, and then he went to public schools the other 3 years.
Okay.
And then when I went to college, I started an internship at the NBC station here, and there was these serial killings happening, and, it turned out he was put to death in, I don't know, 15 years ago for it.
Oh, that's a shame because you think, if schools would start taking bullying seriously
Oh, I
and,
know.
like, figure out why is this kid being a bully, he could have been still alive here with us today. It's just sad that he had mental health that probably went unchecked.
He was a bully as well as being bullied. I remember him
Okay.
being viciously bullied as well. So, I mean, he was one of the few people I remember who both were a bully and were bullied.
Okay. So he took out his aggression probably on you, to make
Yes.
himself feel better. Wow.
I
Wow.
mean, it was a lot of people. He was probably one of the main ones. And every time you see him, you're like, oh God, stay away from me. You
Yeah.
know,
Do you know what he was being bullied for? Did he look different? Did he act weird? Kids might think it was
he,
weird.
it's hard to, I mean, he didn't look all that different. He talked a little bit different and he laughed at inappropriate times and he didn't really seem to follow a conversation. So I don't know if there was some
Yeah.
kind of issue
It
mentally
sounds like
or
there might
if he was just
yeah, it sounds like there might have
I'm
been
sorry.
it sounds like it might have been some mental health that maybe just got
Yeah, I mean it's
looked
possible.
past. Who knows what his
I
parents were
mean
like.
he had electric eyes and so I remember those electric eyes. They just looked right through you.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if that's a telltale sign, but that really scared me.
Um, when did you start writing this book? Like, did you have, like, a moment, like, what, I'm gonna take my negative experiences in life, and I'm gonna start sharing it to the world. I guess, when did you start writing it, and what's your goal for this book?
Well, always wanted to write about my experiences being bullied. The problem is, who wants to read, a 200-page book about being called gay Ray? I mean, that's what the book would have been.
Yeah,
Um, then I was sitting here at my computer, just messing around with DAL-E, which is this artificial intelligence platform where you can create pictures and it creates beautiful artworks from just your prompts of what you tell it to do. So what I ended up accidentally doing was creating some artwork from the various scenes in my life that had a very huge impact on me. From the bullying, I mean, there's amazing pictures of me standing at a podium in high school where all these kids are attacking me and throwing things at me and all that kind of stuff. And I've never been able to visualize that before. So now I see it. I created all different kinds of scenes from those periods and as I was looking at them, I thought, oh, this is a great way to tell the story by using artificial intelligence and this
yeah,
DAL-E service. And then in the process, I started healing. I started, I was able to forgive my father. He was the biggest bully in my life. I was able to forgive that teacher in the speech class who refused to control the class. I was able to forgive all the students in those classes who treated me like, dirt. And I realized there's something to this that's reframing those moments gives you a new perspective on it, and I was able to see that differently now, and some of those things I've expanded into big artworks that are hanging on my wall, so, I mean, it's really been an amazing journey for me, and that was just in the last 6 months.
Wow. I don't want you to give away all the details in your book, but do you talk about how you overcame bullying, or how'd you get up every day and go to school and face this type of stuff? Because I couldn't imagine it was fun going to school every day. Like, you talk about how
It
you
was
were able to
horrific.
do that.
I somehow always knew that this bullying had a shelf life. I knew the minute I graduated from high school, it was over.
Okay.
And literally it was. Granted, that's not a very hopeful thing for people who are in the 7th and 8th grade who have to go through 4, 5, 6 more years of high school before they realize it's over. But I always knew that sooner or later the bullying was gonna stop, it was gonna end, and I would move on with my life. And literally the day I graduated, it was done. I mean, I haven't been called names since.
Wow.
I started college, and it was amazing. People treated me with respect, and there was nobody talking about me behind my back and nobody throwing things at me. I mean, one of my classmates was George Clooney before he
Really?
was, famous, obviously. And I was treated with respect. And I was like, I have no idea how to deal with being respected. So that took a while to get
That's a
used to.
good point. That's a very good point. When people started treating you with respect, were you kind of like, "Are you picking on me?" kinda feeling? Like what was that
No,
like?
I don't think so. I was just excited. It was like, "Oh, this is so great." It was like, "This is the real world. These are real people now." That whole high school and grade school thing was just, something you have to get past, and you really do because I haven't been bullied since. So it's like you just have to live through it. And I know that's not something you want to hear, but that's really the only way because unless you start putting body cams on every kid in school so that
Yeah,
you have a recording of every single bullying event that happens, you can't control the bullying. There's just no
yeah,
way, especially with
yeah,
social media now.
correct. So, you mentioned, not on this podcast right now, but in your story that you sent me, you were a Emmy uh, award winner.
Yep.
Is it was it hard for you to accept an award like that? Because for me, when I get acknowledged for things, still, I have a hard time accepting that. I don't know why. It's a great thing, but from the having no confidence at all,
Right.
sometimes you feel like, I don't know if I deserve this. I'm not doing it. I wasn't that great." Do you
You're
ever
you're
those
dealing with
thoughts?
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, and it's so strong. It's so
It
strong.
is. It really is.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have a problem accepting the Emmy Awards, but I didn't speak a word when I was at the podium. I mean, I literally did not. Thank God
Yeah.
other people won with me, so they're the ones who all spoke. I could not possibly have talked because of my experiences in that damn, speech class.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I've dealt with a lot of what imposter syndrome type things. My show in Los Angeles had lots of celebrities come on. And it was nice meeting some celebrities, but the ones I really wanted to meet, it's like I couldn't even go up to them because I felt so low, like they're gonna see through me that I'm not a real producer, that I'm just some schlub, and, I don't they don't shouldn't be bothered with me, you know what I'm saying? And that was
Yeah.
definitely something I'm still dealing with.
Yeah. I've met a handful of celebrities this past couple years, and, it turns from my experience, the ones who really made it are, like, the nicest people.
Yeah, right.
And then I met a few people who are kinda like, I had a part in this part and a part in that part, these smaller parts. They think they're the biggest thing ever, and they have no time for you. I was like, "That does not make no sense." I met a guy named Billy Blanks. Not sure if you ever heard of him. I'm sure you
No.
have. Billy Blanks started Taibo. So, I had to go out in LA and to do this thing on Fox 11 for Good Day LA
Oh, yeah.
to talk about my anti-bullying press event that's coming up. That was we were just kick me and Eric the Trainer were just kicking this off at the Martial Arts History Museum. And the producers at Good Day LA said, "You need to have students or we're not gonna have you on." Like, I live in Minnesota.
How
I
you
don't
gonna
have
get
no
students?
students out there.
Exactly.
So, my publicist she's good friends with Billy Blanks, and she got a hold of him, say, "Hey, we have my client Tim. He needs to go on a good day LA. He has no students out here. Could you help him out?" And Billy is like, "Yeah, no problem." So Billy Blanks called me up out of the blue one day. "Hey, man, whatever you need, I got you. What do you want me to do?" I mean, this guy is on top of the world. The role should have been reversed. I should have been the one begging him, but he was just
Right,
like, "Hey,
right.
whatever you need, blah blah blah," and it turned out to be a great segment. So and that just felt weird because it's like, why is this guy helping me? I'm a nobody. He's like people at Fox 11, like, oh my gosh, you're Billy Blanks, you're this. I'm like, who is hell of me? But
And that's great when you meet
yeah,
somebody who you really admire and they're a good person.
yeah,
As versus you meet somebody who you love and they're just a jerk. It's like, "Oh my
yeah.
gosh, I wasted all this energy on this person and they're just a jerk." So,
So
yeah, I understand that.
I did meet somebody who I thought that was the coolest person ever, and once I met them and talked to him, this guy's not probably not the best. I don't know. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
his personality or my personality. We didn't I don't know how to say it. We weren't compatible. I think I
Right.
annoyed this person than anything else. And all I wanna do is have a conversation and talk about this. And I can't even see the show because people probably figure it out. But I was so bummed out. But I think back, you know what? It's not the person, it's the character that person plays. I still like that character. And you just gotta kind of
Right.
tell that in your
Well,
head. It's a character.
you gotta keep in mind that everybody wants to be the Kardashians. Everybody wants to have all those millions of likes and those millions of followers and all that stuff, and none of that has any value to it. And all the kids, that's all they do is they sit there on their phones, liking and things, and it's just like, that's not gonna make you happy. You're not gonna move forward in your life because of that. I walk down the street and I watch people with all their headphones on and looking at their phones. It's like, take those headphones out and face the world, face reality for a while and discover what's right here in front of you as opposed to what you're hiding around, in those headphones.
Exactly. Yeah, and then kids bring their cell phones to school. They miss out on social interaction.
Yeah.
And you wonder
They
why
don't they don't
we're
have exactly, they don't have social skills.
and then the mental health just seems to be going up. Like, I don't remember having this much mental health issues in school besides myself dealing with myself being bullied, but like the amount of like I'm running for school board. Hopefully next month I get elected.
Good
But
luck.
um there's so much staff just for like mental health and social workers. Like I don't ever all I remember in high school was a guidance counselor and that was it.
Yeah,
There was
exactly, me
nobody
too.
else. You had an issue,
Mental health.
go to the guidance counselor. But now, and you kind of wonder if the cell phones are the cause of this. Like, you know, kids don't know how to
I
interact with anybody anymore. They have a
exactly,
persona
they don't.
online. They don't have a persona in life.
Yeah, exactly, and if they're not getting the likes, they're not, valuable, and they're not worth your effort. So, yeah, it's a really bad way of you know, deciding who counts and who doesn't. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, Raymond. So you told me earlier before you came on my show that you suffered. So you were in television for a long time until you developed a complex post traumatic syndrome. Um, w- how did that become about when you're doing so well on television? And I guess, yeah, how did that start? Because
Well, it was a complete surprise to me. I was driving my car to Hollywood High School to donate some, computer things that I didn't need anymore, computers and monitors and things, and as I was about to pull into the parking lot, my brain just freaked, forced me into oncoming traffic on the other side of the road. I, like, went into this stupor. I had no idea what was going on. Fortunately got onto the side of the road, sat on the curb, and was like, "What the hell was that?" And it turns out after sitting there for 15 minutes trying to figure it out, my brain was actually trying to protect me from going to high school where it had suffered so much trauma 25, 30 years ago. It's
really,
like, I'd never experienced that before, but of course, I've never been to a high school since the real high school. So then I realized, "Oh, I'm screwed up." And so I really went to a psychiatrist then and started taking, you know, pills and everything else and, therapy and whatever else and, you know
so that's interesting. So you were driving to a high school. So you're going about that day. Your day was fine. You woke up
Yeah,
great. feeling
Yeah,
great, and you're gonna pull into a high school, and you're uncontrollably, your brain just says, "Nope, we're not doing
yeah.
this today." That's
It's
I'm I feel like I'm sheltered because I never heard of that before.
it's just weird. I mean, I had
Yeah,
never expected it. I had never thought it would happen. And all of a sudden, it's like, what is this happening? And it was my brain saying, you can't go in there because there's danger in there. You've suffered trauma in these high schools. You can't go there. And
crazy. So, it
I,
was
yeah,
like a major anxiety attack? Is that kinda what it was
yes,
like?
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. But I literally could not steer my car into the lot. It would not let me. My arms
Wow.
forced me on the other side of the road. I almost hit a dump truck, for God's sake. It was just so bizarre. And I
Wow.
you know, and nothing like that's happened before or after that, but it just shows you that lurking in here somewhere is all that trauma that, happened 30, 25 years ago, and it comes back to haunt you.
Yeah. Now, I was watching your YouTube video, your little two-minute video about your book. Did Was that complex post-traumatic syndrome, did that end your career in television
Oh, no,
or
no, no, no,
no?
no.
Okay. I was just a little confused with that video part 'cause I thought maybe that caused you to your career. Are you still working in television?
I am.
Okay.
I'm back home in Cincinnati where I belong.
Okay.
After living in New York and LA and Chicago, I'm not I don't have the energy to live in those big cities anymore. It just takes too much energy to be there. So I'm back home in a nice quiet place.
I hear you. So I live in Mankato, Minnesota, and I've been out to
There
LA
you go.
many times, and the people, the crowd, uh, traffic, it's just too much. It's too much for me. It gives me anxiety just being there some days. It's like
And can I ask you something about
yes.
I wrote in my book, I said, "My father was very emotionally distant to me even as a child. So he never taught me how to protect myself, never taught me how to throw a punch, never taught me how to take a punch." Do you think that if as you teach kids how to protect themselves, do you find that they are more empowered, and don't become bullied because they know how to protect themselves? Should they need to throw a punch?
You know, that's a great question. I've never been asked that question before. So when I teach kids, first of all, I tell them, first of all, martial arts is only used for if you really need to use it. So, for
Yeah,
instance, this one girl, she had to use it one day on the playground at school, and that's because I say she now because she's back to she. By that time, she was non-binary, and this boy, this is like a fourth grader, by the way. This boy
yeah.
told her to scream like a girl, and she's like, "I'm not gonna scream like a girl." And, so he punched her in the stomach to get her to scream like a girl. And if you wanna hear more about the story, it's on one of my episodes called "The Discovery and Denial of Alex." So, because we have a 2 episode on this whole story. It's just
Yep.
sad. But, anyways, so the boy punched her. She started I can't remember if she started crying or not, but she went to go on the playground, look for a teacher's aide. No teacher's aide out there.
Of course.
The bully's following her. She turns around and round kicks this boy in the face. Boy starts crying. Teachers all of a sudden now recognize there's a fight going on. Guess who gets in trouble? She gets in trouble. And guess who has to apologize? She has to apologize. And she had nothing to do with it. She
But
just because the boy wanted go
will
ahead.
she was she ever picked on again, or did those bullies see, "Oh,
Oh,
she's gonna kick me in the face if I screw with her?"
I haven't heard one
That's what I was curious. I'm curious if I
yeah,
learned to punch somebody in the
she
3rd grade, would I have had
yeah,
a whole different
so
experience?
I have not heard another story of her being picked on since then,
Okay.
which I'm happy for her. Am I proud that it took that to hinder bullying? No, I'm not proud because we should be doing better for our kids. It should not get to that point. I teach kids about we talk about bullying. What is bullying? Bullying is the intent to cause harm. Are there bad people out there? Yes. When should you use your martial arts? Only if you have to. For example, she couldn't find help. This
Yeah.
kid's chasing her. He already assaulted her. She has to do something, otherwise she's gonna get hurt. But she threw one kick, and it ended the whole thing. Um,
I'd
but
love to know if he's ever bothered her again. I would
yeah,
love to know how that
I haven't heard, but I noticed that her in class now, she's on my leadership team, her confidence has grown. She
Mhm.
still suffers from some self-confidence issues, like, when I'm now part of leadership team, you have to be in front of people. It's a lot of public speaking. And one day she just had a panic attack because she thought kids were laughing at her. I'm like, I didn't see one kid laugh at you. But in her head, she
Yeah, oh,
thought
yeah,
kids were laughing at her. So
yeah.
I had to calm her down, say, I was watching it. Nobody was laughing at you. But I told her, if you want to get better at public speaking, let's go start with the 5 and 6 year old kids. Let's not do kids your age. Let's start, we can start low and work our way up. So it's just trying to get her to, it's public speaking's a whole new beast to deal with, as you know,
And
especially with a kid who's being bullied to stand up
do
there.
you would you agree that bullying like racism is learned from parents?
Yes. Yes.
So do I. I agree with
I, I,
100%.
I don't, I mean, I look
It's
at my,
learned.
I look at my daughter right now, Georgia, who is going into kindergarten. She has some friends who have different skin colors than her. She doesn't see it. She doesn't say anything about it. She calls her friend a beeps, it's beeps. Um, she doesn't see it. And you know what? I want her to maintain that for as much as possible. But my issue is why I'm running for part of why I'm running for school board is that the school board is making everything a race issue. And they say it
Mhm.
out loud in public. They say, I'm really concerned about your non-white kids learning because they have this agenda of closing the gap, it's called. So if a high percentage of white kids are passing grades, they want a high percentage of non-whites. They call them non-whites to pass grades.
Non-whites,
So
yep,
they will focus on the non-whites. So my daughter is not doing well in school. Well, that's fine because statistically she's okay, even though she's struggling. By the school just wants the school cares right now about their numbers. They don't care
right.
about individuality, and I'm okay to say that because I watched the school board videos. So my daughter will get left out while these other kids, because of their race, they're gonna get tracked individually. They're gonna get more attention just so they can boost up their percentages. They don't give a crap
Right.
about individualism, and that just drives me nuts. Now, I have people that disagree with me saying, "Well, historically, Minnesota has been known to treat kids like," you know what? That's on that school. I wanna come in and say, "Hey, if these kids are struggling," if right now the issue was what I'm referring to is there's a school called Prairie Winds Middle School. They have 244 white kids who cannot read, I believe, above a 3rd grade level. They're in middle school, they can't read above 3rd grade.
That's
They have
scary.
291 non-white students who can't read above 3rd grade. The school board was so pissed off about the 291 students, like, "You gotta do better for those kids." I'm like, "The numbers are almost the same. How can you leave out 244 other kids?"
Right.
And so I gave my opinion on that, and it's like, we needed first of all, we need to take all the kids who can't read and give them extra reading classes and throw out some of these extracurricular classes that they probably don't need right now. But they're so data statistically driven, and they just
Right.
don't
Oh,
see
yeah.
beyond that, and it drives me nuts. And because you're teaching kids about racism right there,
Yeah, totally.
why am I
Now,
being tracked?
as you send your daughter out to face the world, what have you armed her with? I mean, how can she protect herself emotionally, physically, whatever it is?
So I have 5 kids. So I have a
Oh, wow.
22-year-old, I have an
Wow.
18-year-old, and I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So
Wow.
we had a 12-year break, and
Yeah.
what's funny, the 18-year-old and the 6-year-old has the exact same birth dates, 12 years
Oh, wow,
apart,
that's
exact
amazing.
same birthdays. Jaslyn is autistic, so she suffers with, like, her big issue is communication. So we've got her help, like, 18 months. So one good thing about Mankato Public Schools is they have a great early intervention program.
Yeah.
So they were on her case instantly, but she still got bullied. And for me as a dad, I just hope my best for her. You just gotta have her back because
Yeah.
she is shy. She is scared about a lot. Like, she's scared of it to make a phone call to call the dentist. She's worried about that. So what we do is we help get her services that kind of help people to rely on. And to find what's helpful is she's found a job where she works at a college right now, and people are very accepting of her and they love her because she does excellent work.
Oh, good.
So she's taken care of now. Rihanna, 18 years old, this girl, she is tough. I had no worries about her. she uh, she's even rough with me. She's very assertive.
And
I didn't
did you,
I didn't teach her any of that.
did you teach her
That's
that stuff?
Nope. She very assertive. I do remember in junior high, we call it girl trouble. She had some issues with some few girls, but she was involved in plays. She was very active. She was a totally opposite of me in school.
Yeah,
I tried to teach my kids martial arts, and none of them want to do it. So I tried because dad's doing it. They don't want to do it.
right.
And now Georgia,
Not cool.
um, I tell
Yeah.
Georgia if anyone calls you a name, just tell me, and I'll take care of it. That's how I found out about the preschool stuff. I found out like, well, this girl is calling me a name. So a few times I wrote to the teacher and I CC the principal, and they didn't.
And do you see results from that?
No, I didn't see results from that. Besides, I will just take care of it. But I know well enough. I'm just going to watch Georgia ask her questions, and then I had the principal come sit at her conference meeting with me, and then they were sounding like we don't want her back next year because of her high emotions. So I kinda got that message, and I could have fought back because at a Catholic school, it was a Catholic school, I could go to my parish who pays a lot of money to Catholic schools to keep it running. I could go to
Mhm.
my parish and file the complaint, but I'm like, "You know what? I'm not gonna worry about this." Um, I'm pretty confident I'm gonna win school board election next month. I got my daughter's back, and a lot of it for myself is just teaching my kids that if you have an issue, I want you to come to me with it, let me handle it. I
Tim,
do my best. Yeah.
do you find that these zero tolerance policies have no teeth, basically?
So this is what I learned about zero tolerance. That means both kids, the target of the bullying and the bullier, get punished.
Oh, yeah.
So when I started running for school board, I was all about zero tolerance bullying because I thought it meant, the kid who's getting picked on will get in trouble, and not the kid who's was being picked on. And then Drew Alberg, she runs a not for profit out in Colorado called the Bullying Recovery Resource Center. Says, no, 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 Tim, you can't say zero tolerance because zero tolerance means everybody gets in trouble. And like, that's so stupid. So
I'm just thinking as we're talking, like I mentioned earlier about having, those police cams on you, body cams.
yeah,
It would be an interesting experiment if you put body cameras secretly on several kids in the school who are prone to being bullied, and then just watching them back to see how things
yeah.
progress and
The
what's really
problem,
happening.
the problem is we got laws, privacy laws in school.
Oh,
So if
okay,
you
okay,
find
okay.
out that you're secretly recording someone's kid, you can't do that.
Oh, okay.
Now, the
Okay,
schools
yeah, yeah.
have the schools have cameras. So, one of my episodes called "Delete the Evidence." This was in middle school where one of my students, who just started karate with me at that time, got jumped,
Wow.
and somehow the evidence of that on video, well, it got destroyed because the video wasn't clear enough
Well, how
before the police
convenient.
go before the police go look at it. So the parents were struggling with the prosecuting attorney saying, "Well, we can't prove that's your kid that got jumped. We had no video because they had cell phone footage of a fight happening, but we can't prove that's
Yeah,
your kid." Even though her kid came home with
yeah,
broken tooth, all bloodied
uh-huh,
up,
and a bunch of
but
people saw it.
because the main video was destroyed or wasn't clear enough, the school just deleted it for some reason. They had a harder time, but luckily the kid did admit to it without the video, so they're taking other steps. I don't know what happened to that case, and I feel like if they want to tell me what an update, that's fine. But if not, I am running for school board now, so that's probably best just to leave that alone now. But
And that's something I have no experience in. When I was in grade school and high school, there were never lawsuits, there were never threats, the
no,
teachers were always the ones who ruled, and everything they said, my parents believed. So,
yeah,
it's a whole
and then
different world now.
well, when I got bullied, I was too embarrassed to tell my parents,
Right.
and when the teachers saw it, they didn't do anything either.
Yep.
So you're just on your own.
Yep, you are.
So, yeah. Well, Raymond, I want to thank you so much for coming on to my podcast. If people want to get a hold of you, find your book, where can they do that?
The book is on Amazon. It's called The Art of Being Bullied. The name is Raymond Bruni, Brune, rhymes with loony. And you can get it now, and it's in paperback, ebook, and audiobook.
And I see you have long hair in that picture.
Well, the whole book, there are see the look at the back. Where's this camera at?
Yep.
The long hair is on purpose. It's an iconic thing where it
Okay.
shows the freedom, of getting rid of the bullying. So there's a
Okay.
lot of every picture, not every, but there's tons of pictures in here of, people with long hair
Oh,
because it's
wow. Yeah.
part of the book. And I explain that in the book that it
Interesting.
represents freedom from all that horrible bullying you've had to deal with all your life.
That's a book I'm definitely gonna buy. I'm gonna check that out.
It's
So,
cool. I mean, I love it. It's really helped me a lot. So I hope it heals. And it's not just about bullying. Whatever your trauma is, if you reframe it with these pictures that you can create yourself, it's certainly worth trying.
yeah. All right, Raymond, thanks again for coming on today. Do you have a website where people can where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at rightbrainrain.com.
Okay, and I will put
Right
that
Brain
link
Rain.
I'll put
Yeah.
that link in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, you just saw it go across the screen, so no worries. So,
Cool.
Raymond, thanks again for coming on today.
Thank you very much.